Thanks for listening to the Brian Brawdy Show. It's time to mortal up.
Hello, all. Nice to have you with us. It's time to stand up to the outrage junkies. Time to battle brittle brains atop balsa wood spines while fighting the thin-skinned nanny staters at every turn. It's Brian. I'm in, and very glad you joined us for today's ride. So what do you say? Let's get ready to mortal up. And hello once again. I got to tell you, even though it's been a little bit of a while since I've done this, very nerve-wracking trying to hit this button, that button, get everything going just the way you wanted to. But welcome to the 497th episode of the Brian Brawdy Show. We've got all kinds of cool things that that we've got planned for you. And even though we're having a difficult time this evening with some of the weather, some of the internet, you know, the kind of things that happen, we wanted to go ahead, maybe 497, 498, 499, kind of give you an idea of what the new show is going to be all about, what it's going to be like. And then when we hit the 500th episode, it'll be a week from this coming Tuesday. We've got some really special guests, got some great things going on. So we're looking forward to that as well. But thank you so very much for joining me for 497. I also want to thank everyone that sent me the messenger messages, the posts, the texts, the emails, the tweets, wondering how I've been doing. I've been doing great. Feel better than I ever have. Some say, depending upon who you ask, maybe even better than pre-tumor. So I'm very fired up to still be here, right? Which is why I said in an interview last week, this is the greatest time in the history of the world to be alive because I'm still here. We're still here. If you're listening, you're still here, which makes it a terribly big deal when it comes to living your life the way you see fit. And ultimately, that's going to be the focus of the Brian Brawdy Show. The focus of Mortal Up is ultimately reminding you that everything you've ever needed, you've always had, right? It doesn't, people say, I have a wish list, I have a bucket list, I have goals. But the bottom line remains everything you've ever needed, you've always had. And that when you reframe your situation in the moment at hand, you can pull off some truly amazing things. So we're looking forward to talking about that. And for tonight, I'd like to go over just what you can expect, what the run of show is going to be as we try to get the show syndicated and we move on, from here at Facebook and also on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello. Oh, and a special hello to everyone that's been giving me a shout out now that Nat Geo is running the show over on Netflix. I'm told season 2, episode 1. Thanks for everyone. All the kind emails. Thanks even for the emails that weren't all that kind, to be honest with you. Because as I say, there's no such thing as bad press. I'm loving it all. So thank you all so very much for that. But before we move on, as we attempt to syndicate the show and we attempt to do all these things, the one thing that will remain constant is my belief, when we talk about all the time, standing in the way of anyone that stands in the way of you. Anyone that would water down human wherewithal. Those are the people that, we're very happy to pick a fight with. Those are the people, we call them brittle brains atop balsa wood spines, as you remember. Those are the people that we're very excited to mix it up with because we don't want anyone blocking your path to mortal up. So each show, what we're going to do, and we'll go through it. So I thought quickly we could look at some of the different segments that we have here. So within every Brian Brawdy Show, we're going to do the Mortal Up segment last. I want to invest the most time in that. We'll have call-in guests. Some of the interviews will be pre-recorded just so that we can keep respectful to everyone's time. So we're going to save Mortal Up for last. But it kind of massaged in there, if you will, it's my definition of those things that attempt to hijack your brain. My definition of those things that are like, look, this is absolutely going to stand in your way. You could get sidetracked, like in the Greek mythology, the lotus eaters. You could definitely get sidetracked if you let that be the case. So we're going to have Media Mania, which we're pretty fired up about, to be honest with you. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about lowlifes making headlines. I know in the tease we talked about what does Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, as you know, Nancy Pelosi, have to do with Mayor Lori Lightfoot from Chicago? Well, it turns out they were both caught at a hairdresser's, at a salons that are supposed to be shut down. You and I know we can't go out. We're under lockdown. We can't go get our hair done, bald spots buffed, if that's what you're working on. We can't go and do any of that. Oh, but Nancy Pelosi can. Lori Lightfoot can. So those are one of the people. And you'd think, look, anyone that says you're not allowed to get your hair done, you're not allowed to get a facial, you're not allowed to go out in public without a mask, when you think, oh, you know what, that should pretty much win tonight's low lifes making headlines. We'll get to that in a minute. But no. There's another politician that did even a better job of going ahead and at the very moment crossing the finish line to get to low lifes making headlines. And we'll get to that in just a minute. So we've talked about media mania. We've talked about low lifes making headlines. Oh, one of my favorites, woke, spoke, and choked. We'll get to that tonight as well with the NBA and everything that's going on in there. Wing sauce, right? Whether it's a left wing or right wing, underneath it all, it's still chicken, right? So we'll talk about how the polarities, not only of the left and right politically, but even socially, how they try to pull you apart from your ability to mortal up. And then another one that's near and dear to my heart, and maybe we should start with that. We should start with that right away, is the facts lives matter. And because of that, all I would say is it's become really popular of late to go ahead and forget about the presumption of innocence, right? You know, the whole everyone's innocent until proven guilty. Well, I had a conversation not too long ago with a college graduate, couple college graduates, by the way, who said to me, oh, no, you're guilty until proven innocent, because why would anyone ever make up something negative about you? So when it comes to facts, lives matter, what is always important to me is, okay, great. If you have all the information, if you have all the facts, if you were there and witnessed it yourself, that's a little different. But if not, then there's a presumption of innocence that attaches to every situation. Good guys, bad guys, good girls and bad girls. I don't want to mansplain, but there is a presumption of innocence that attaches always to any situation. And facts lives matters is my way of saying, look, it's not hard. It's the truth, right? You have to go ahead and wait for the truth to come out. And we're hopeful, at least in the Western world, we're hopeful that if you're charged, if you're arrested, if you're charged, if you go to a grand jury, if you get a trial by a jury of your peers, then we're in hopes that those facts will come to life and that facts lives really will matter. And that's all. You know, when people say, oh, well, you're a this or you're a that, thank you so much. Keep all the complaints coming. I'll tell you, you can do it. Thanks very much to Wayne, who makes all the technical decisions here and keeping the show up and going. You can send me your opinion at Brian Brawdy Official, as you see the little Facebook logo down there, or you could hit us up on Twitter at Brian Brawdy. I love the spitter wars. I really do. Yes. You know what I mean? Keyboard courage of some of these folks. It's just great. It just brightens my day. You just can't beat it. But in any event, if you want to give us, drop us a line and let us know what you're thinking, you can reach us at Brian Brawdy Official here on Facebook. And, of course, Twitter at Brian Brawdy. Also, don't forget to go over to mortalup.com. And you're welcome to leave us an email. There's all different kinds of things that we can do there. But we'll get into that as the season wears on. So now back to some of the different things that we can do. We've talked about Facts Lives Matters, which is just, it's very important when you stop and think about it, because you wouldn't accuse your child, you wouldn't accuse your best friend, you wouldn't accuse someone else until you had all the facts, until you had all the information, until, right, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Well, that's all we're saying about Facts Lives Matter, is that that's important too. So instead of a rush to judgment, now I know it's popular, and let me just say this, and this is a part of the disclaimer. I think we forgot to add this in, Wayne, but this is a part of the disclaimer. We say the views expressed by Brian, they're damn well my views, and not necessarily the views of anyone that may call in, any of the sponsors and the like. But here's the deal. If your sense of bravery is to set a car on fire, if your sense of bravery is to hit someone over the head with a skateboard, if your sense of bravery is to dislodge a park bench and throw it through the window of a Nike or an Apple or a Neiman Marcus or even a mom and pop store, your sense of courage is such that, oh boy, I'll show them. I'm going to throw this brick right through the window. Really? So we never come out against protesting. We think protesting is a great idea. We probably kind of draw the line in some of the riots. Now, you'd be welcome to say, well, Brian, are you saying let's get all the facts? And once we get all the facts, then when we know someone is absolutely guilty, they've been found guilty and this and that, then if the trial doesn't turn out the way we want, or if the punishment doesn't turn out the way we want, then we can protest a little more vociferously. Yes. And in fairness to you, we were talking about this just yesterday. In fairness to your position, let me just say, probably because of the brain tumor, probably because of the 5 surgeries, if you kick another human being that's on the ground, you kick him in the face, you kick him in the head, I think they should they should make your feet a weapon. And it should be, because if you look at the fragility of the human skull, believe me, I can tell you all about that. If you look at the fragility of the human head or the jaw or the nose or your eyes, and someone's going to run up and kick you in the face or kick you from behind, I think they should be charged with criminal possession of a weapon, and it should be your feet. No more martial arts, no more black belts, no more of this other crap. If you can kick another human being while they're on the ground, literally kick another human being with your foot. You can snap kick. You can side kick. Oh, you're a good martial artist. Grasshopper, you move too slow. What, was that cultural appropriation? Sorry about that. Kung Fu days. What are you going to do? Shoot me. So all I'm suggesting is if you run up to somebody and kick them in the face, kick them in the back of the head, kick them alongside of the head, you should be charged with possession of a deadly weapon, because your foot and the amount of force you're able to move your lower leg, it is definitely something that a normal human head, normal human brain, you talk about concussions, you talk about all the different things that could go on. So that's just my little rant. Remember, we used to have that 800 number, and we'll give out the new 800 number probably tomorrow or maybe next Tuesday, because this is going to be a call-in show. As you know, people are going to be able to call in, and they're going to be able to say, Bri, I think you're insane. Bri, I think you're right on. And we'll have different guests. And then people can call in and talk about what the guest segments are going to be. So we'll have that, and we're looking forward to that as well. All right. And also, let me just say this, because some of the guests, well, let's just do this.
Portions of this broadcast have been pre-recorded.
Why? Because you can't get these people to hit a call time. They're the worst. Nah, I'm just kidding. We love our guests. That is true. You know, when you do an 8 p.m. show, everyone's like, oh, I can't call. I have things to do. I have family. I'm going to dinner. I'm going out. I don't know. Are we allowed to go out to a show anymore? In any event, some of the guests will be pre-recorded so that we can still get their segments in. And then you and I will have the ability to discuss. You're welcome to call in and go, hey, this is a thumbs up, a thumbs down. This is what we think about what the guest had to say, or about what any of our topics are going to be for the evening. We can discuss that as well. Speaking of things that you and I can discuss, why don't we hop right into one just to give us a taste of what things are going to be like. Let's hop into one of the segments for tonight. Lowlifes making headlines, or as we like to call it around here, brains that make your blood boil. Here's your brittle brain atop a balsa wood spine for today. All right, so here we are. Like I said before, you'd think Nancy Pelosi, right, going against her own rules, going against the law, going just to get her hair fixed. I'm not making this up, right? Just to get her hair done. She gets to go out. She gets to, socialize in public, gets to go to a salon that's closed, doesn't have to wear a mask while she's there. And you'd think, oh, that sounds a lot like Lori Lightfoot from Chicago getting to run to her hairdresser. Well, it's important to be on camera, and you got to look your best. But here are these two people, these two beloved politicians, breaking their own rules, breaking the laws, breaking whatever it is they tell you to obey. They're busy breaking it. Now, I know you're thinking, wow, Bri, so you have a lowlifes making headlines for tonight? Oh, no. That award for this evening, and we posted it over on Facebook, the award for this evening goes to the mayor of Philadelphia, who said, hey, wait a minute. You're not allowed to go out in public. But he scoots over the line to have dinner in Maryland out at a restaurant that would be closed in his own state, right? The mayor of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, decides he'll book over to Maryland, have dinner, and have it without a mask. So, Phil, you get our lowlifes making headlines for today. And as I've said, you had some stiff competition because, look, Nancy and Lori sneaking out to their hairdressers. That's a no. In case you are following along at home. No for you, but for your beloved politicians, the public servants that do everything they can from the heart, always for you, right? Your public servants go, oh, no, you're on lockdown, but I'll come and go as I please. And you're thinking, wow, how could that be? Here's another one. The mayor of Philadelphia heading out, having dinner, taking off his mask. And here's another thing. In this day and age, well, let me just say this. In this day and age, if you don't think every mic is an open mic, if you don't think absolutely everything you do has the chance of being recorded on somebody's cell phone, right? Well, how many? We got 250 trillion cell phones on the planet, whatever that number is. Everyone's got a cell phone. Some people have two cell phones, one for Snapchat and one to post live to Facebook or whatever they're doing. Some people with two phones. So let me just say this. The caliber of people that we're electing to be politicians are the ones that don't have the common sense to know that every mic is hot. And no matter what you do, no matter where you show up, no matter what shenanigans you try to pull, there will always be someone there with a cell phone camera. And you think about the number of politicians that have run amok of the crowd. Why? Because they violated a very simple rule. Every mic is hot. Everyone has a cell phone camera to record you breaking your own rules. Busy telling us to obey. You decide you're above the law. You're above being told what to obey. So it's absolutely different for you. Yet these are the caliber of people we elect. What does that tell you? If you're so mentally challenged that you don't realize, hey, is this thing on? Yes, it's always on. The microphone is always on. You're always going to be filmed on camera. If you don't have the mental capability to let that sink in, why do we keep electing them as public servants? I just don't get it. All right, moving along as we get ready for future episodes. There are just sometimes they leave you no choice, and you gotta throw down some Yiddish. Media mania. Because Meshuggah is just too hard to spell. Oh boy, isn't it though? And I gotta tell you, again, thanks to Wayne, the New York Crimes, I love that one, the Washington Compost, MSNBC, Pure BS, or PBS, as you and I both know it, Spitter. How much all you learn is the truth over on Spitter, and of course the Circus News Network with little Jimmy Accosted and the rest of his happy little crew over at the Circus News Network. So what this segment is going to be, not all media, not everybody. I have friends that I love, dear friends, lifelong friends that are big-time reporters, big-time producers, big-time writers, big-time meteorologists that are on media outlets. We're not talking about everybody, just like when we say, oh, all police are evil. No, there's paint a broad stroke and say, well, all police are that way. And I absolutely refuse to paint with a broad stroke and go, well, all media is that way. Sometimes right? I'm just not going to do it. How'd you like that? No, that's totally my fault. Well, again, this is another part for a great disclaimer. If it's something that gets messed up, it's because I hit the wrong button. If it's something that looks good and smooth, then it's Wayne's or any of the other staff that we have working here. It's absolutely something that they had to do with it. I'm just the one that usually screws up. All right, so there you go with our media mania, right? I love using Yiddish, as you know, tukis, meshuggah, words like that. But we're going to highlight some of the stories where you just shake your head and go, what the heck is going on here? All right, and I'm very excited about this next segment. Here we go. Let's give this a riff. It's time for Woke, Spoke, and Choked. Ever wonder if we'd all be better off had they just slept in? Well, tonight, you can't help but beat the woke, spoke, choked files. And I know there's a laundry list, right? This show writes itself. The pre-show is unbelievable. It's just so easy to do. But our woke, spoke, and choke files tonight, of course, none other than the NBA, National Basketball Association, who decides we're going to cancel the rest of the season. And then I see an article today that says, and I think the article even said they're it's just cratering, that the NBA is losing money hand over fist because they're going to boycott, they're going to cancel the rest of the season. Not that I ever watch really basketball. I couldn't care less, to be honest with you. If you're a basketball fan, God love you. But for me, I don't care, right? So it's no different than baseball players or football or hockey for that matter. And here's the reason why. I think when it comes to Mortal Up, get out and be your own superhero. Get out and be your own athlete. That's all I'm talking about. So for me, when they come out and say, oh, well, we've decided that we're going to boycott, we should not play the rest of the games. I'm like, great, I'll take up gardening. I'll take up woodwork, which reminds me, it's kind of odd. Of all the things after the surgeries I wasn't able to do, not allowed to drive, I'm not allowed to fly, I'm not allowed to go here, I'm not allowed to go there. You know the one thing they allowed me to do? Power tools. I just scratch my head every time I think about it. No, so I'm allowed to use like saws. Not that I know how to use them, but the Home Despot has been great in terms of teaching me how to use some of these other tools. So I'm loving that. So maybe I'll take up woodworking, but I'm most certainly not going to watch the NBA, right? So our woke, spoke, and choked winners for the day, the NBA, keep protesting, keep boycotting, keep canceling your season or threatening to cancel your season, and watch the revenues tank. Absolutely a good time. All right, so now we have another segment before we get to Mortal Up. And here's my theory. I'm only going to hold you a couple more minutes. We're doing a 30-minute show tonight so that we're not bumping in on people's schedules. I like the idea of venting. I like the idea of going through Facts Lives Matters. I like the idea of going through Lowlife's Making Headlines, Media Mania, Woke, Spoke, and Choke, and this next one. Get them all out of the way so that the final portion of the show we can spend on the place that my heart is the most, and that's Mortal Up, the concept of Mortal Up. So let's get to our final segment that will fall pre-Mortal Up, meaning let's just go ahead and get it all out of our system, right? Let's go ahead and talk about all the craziness of the day, all the different winners of all the different rewards that we have, all the awards that we have, and then we're able to save our last, the most poignant segment for Mortal Up, because that's where most of us are most excited. So let's get to what will be our final pre-Mortal Up segment each night in terms of the run of show. Left wing, right wing. Beneath all the flapping and clucking, it's still just a chicken. Wing sauce. A lot of noise. But not much sense. Look, here's a little bit of explanation behind that. I put up a Facebook post the other day, which I don't know why I do, right? It's just, I don't know. There are many times where you look at, okay, here's the left wing view, here's the right wing view, but it still distracts you from the only view that really matters tact on your own day. So wing sauce is going to be the craziest things that we can find from the left and the craziest things that we can find from the right. And then we kind of talk about, like I said, get them out of us, right? Vent them. Just get them out of us so that we can clear our minds, clear our heads, and get ready for my absolutely favorite subject. It's time to tune out the herd, because everything you've ever needed, you've always had. So bring your own bold and let's go Mortal Up. Yeah, as you've probably told, you can see the Mortal Up t-shirt. Oh, and we've got some of the t-shirts over at mortalup.com. You've probably seen marketing plan. We're going over, or our global marketing plan. We're going over to the international hub at Columbus International Airport, and we're going to drive around with these big Mortal Up signs and everything else so people can see the Mortal Up. So you may wonder, oh, well, this Mortal Up, what's that all about? what we want Mortal Up to be is the reminder, as superhuman, in and of their own way. And that when you challenge yourself and you rise to that challenge, you can create some pretty amazing things outside of, the lowlifes making headlines, outside of the media mania, outside of the woke spoken choke, outside of wing sauce, outside of all the different things trying to hijack your head. When you dovetail your heart and your head in Mortal Up, you can pull off some pretty amazing things. So I'm really honored to tell you that for the 500th episode, a dear friend of mine, an old friend of mine, and a two-time author now, number one, I believe, on Amazon.com, number one on Kindle, at least, at the very least, I believe. But Dennis Murphy in the Thin Blue Line series, he'll be joining us next Tuesday, 1 week from tonight. Because here's an example of Mortal Up. Here's someone said, I think I'd always like to write a book. And what did he do? He sat down and wrote one. Then he wrote two. And he texted me the other day going, I'm busy working on my third book. It's going to be released later this fall. So what I would like Mortal Up to be, the segments, and you can help me here as well. Again, Brian Brawdy Official on Facebook or Twitter at Brian Brawdy. You can go, Brian, I've got someone you may not know about that exemplifies the concept of Mortal Up. I've got someone with some thick skin. I've got someone that even though all the cards seem stacked against her or him, they rose to the challenge and they pulled it off. Well, I'd love to interview them. I'd like to have them be, right? Because it's fun. We pick the lowlifes making headlines. We pick this. We pick that. We do all these other things. But the ultimate is to identify that person that for today gets the Mortal Up Award. And I have a little koozies with the Mortal Up logo. There's all kinds of things you can get over at mortalup.com. But I will go ahead and send whoever we pick, whoever we interview for that day that exemplifies human determination, human grit, human strength, just the thickness of human skin. We want that to be the Mortal Up segment. So I would love if you could suggest the different things, different things that they've done and the different people doing them so that we could have them on the show and use that as an inspiration for all of us. And then also, I wanted to make mention of the fact we're going to have polls over on mortalup.com. So for the Brian Brawdy Show, here's our plan right now. You'll get to pick your lowlife making headlines. There'll be a question that we post every day that you get to vote yes or no, one or two, up or down, left or right, pivot or swerve, whatever it's going to be, you get to vote. And then that night, we announce live on the show what the poll from the day before has been. And that's going to be incorporated into the Brian Brawdy Show and mortalup.com as well. So because we really want it, we talked about the live call-in show. We really want to hear what you have to say and find if collectively, if there isn't a way to beat the lockdown. You know, when we talk about Mortal Up, and everyone's saying now depression, divorce, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, food addiction, everything's on the rise because everyone is so beside themselves from being locked down. Well, we want to look at this show as the way that we could come together, get rid of some of the mashugana up front, then highlight the very best that humanity has to offer, all within the confines of the show. So that's what the polling will be. That's what Mortal Up will be. And we're very excited to take your calls and just work it out together so that if there's something we're all wondering about, we can come, right? Facts Lives Matter. We can come to a conclusion on our own. All right, I promised it was going to be a 30-minute show, so we are getting ready to get out of here. Thank you so very much for joining us for episode 497. I'm out of here. I will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. In the interim, don't forget to stop on by to mortalup.com. Thank you all so very much. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Brawdy Show. Until next time, get out there and mortal up.